Hi, it's Paulina, and we are back with another video about privacy regulations. Every business owner, marketer, or advertiser had to understand by now that we stepped into highly privacy regulated world. Those changes touch marketing and advertising tremendously, and we really have to figure out how to do our regular job, taking in consideration all the regulations, taking in consideration that we can get fines from GDPR laws, that we also have to somehow optimize our campaigns with the loss of the data from all the privacy regulations. So this video is about privacy-friendly tracking and analytics, everything that you should know and understand about the industry changes, and also what you should look for in your tool that will be performing tracking and analytics in a privacy-friendly manner, and also saving your performance and giving you the real results and the real optimization that you want to achieve. Let's start with understanding why you should be investing in privacy-friendly tracking and analytics. So personal data and privacy issues are one of the most important topics of 2020s for marketers or for every business owner. We realize that there is so much personal data that leaks to the World Wide Web, and that we really have to take care of our safety and privacy and security. It's important for both business owners and individuals. So governments and institutions started developing all the acts that will be regulating the move of personal data, how you can use it, how you can get this data, how you can implement this data for your purposes. Even though I believe that there is no perfect middle ground so far achieved, but the train is moving towards the right direction, towards the privacy regulated future, where our personal data is taken care of and is not shared openly. Here are some of the acts that regulate personal data around the web currently. It's GDPR, CCPA, LGPD, but not only these acts regulate the use of personal data on the web, they also influence how we marketers get access to the data for marketing purposes. So let's understand what all of these privacy regulations mean in advertising industry and what is privacy friendly means for advertisers. The main objectives of all of those acts for advertisers is to keep personal data private and to keep it out of use of corporations against the will or consent of users. And here you have to understand two terms, two notions. It's personal data and PII. It's basically pretty much the same, but they are used in different places. So personal data is a broader and more of a legal term that describes any data about living creatures. And PII, personally identifiable information, is sort of the data that can be connected or linked to a particular human being. And you can usually meet PII when we talk about advertising and marketing, because this is the sort of the data that all of the channels like Facebook or Google get about the users when they advertise through Google Ads, Facebook Ads, or other sources. So we as marketers will often hear about PII, but also we hear about personal data because it's any type of the data. It's a broader term, basically. When we talk about privacy-friendly marketing and advertising, we mean that your business does not store openly, does not own, or does not use this information against the will of the user, and does not collect this data without the consent. But how do us businesses get access to this data that we can use for our marketing purposes? Here we have to talk about cookies' role in this whole thing. So if you have been following this channel for a while, you know that the biggest issue of the last couple of years is third-party cookies and their influence on marketing industry and their bad influence on the safety and security of everyone on the web. So cookies is one of the biggest reasons why marketing is not compliant with all of those regulations in 2022, third-party cookies. It's really important to distinguish third-party cookies and first-party cookies, because third-party cookies are not healthy, first-party cookies are healthy. Let's imagine that they are from Whole Foods, let's say. If you want to know more about this topic, about the difference between those two, I recommend checking out this video. We already filmed it, and it describes the whole thing about privacy-friendly advertising with third-party cookies or with first-party cookies. Cookies store all of this personal data that we're talking about in their little bodies, and they're carrying this information around the web. That's why they are so dangerous, and that's why privacy regulations are trying to restrict the movement of this data with use of cookies. And those privacy regulations are making extinct the use of third-party data through third-party cookies, and that's why we see all around those banners like, do you consent to share your information? Do you consent the use of cookies? So this marks a cookieless era of advertising, because everyone has to restrict the usage of third-party cookies, and we have to navigate how to use our marketing data for doing our job, but taking into consideration all the privacy regulations and doing it only through first-party cookies. If your business or marketing person in a huge company is not compliant with all of those regulations, with all of those consent banners, etc., you can face huge fines, and it's really not the best practice to follow in 2022, because these regulations are really strict right now. But that's not the only reason why you should be thinking about privacy-friendly tracking and analytics for your marketing. The other reason is that all of those privacy regulations influence the biggest players on the market. The biggest players are Facebook. That means all of the companies that are running under Facebook, like Instagram, for example, Google. That means also YouTube, TikTok. Every single channel that we use for marketing has to comply with all of those regulations that Privacy Act state. So that means that they cannot collect the data through third-party cookies, and they do not have access to the data as well. How does it influence us mere marketers? It influences us in a way that they lost the data that they were using for optimization, that they were using for their algorithms, that they were using to deliver you the best results to reaching your target audience. So that's why the privacy regulations influenced every single person on the market, every single marketer doing their job. If we just go over the biggest changes that happened, for example, Apple introduced their ATT prompt, which means that every user now has to give a consent to ask app not to track or to ask app to track, basically. You've probably have seen this banner many times. That happened in 2021. We have Facebook that lost the amount of conversion data coming from iOS devices, and Facebook introduced Facebook Conversion API as a privacy-friendly alternative to collecting the data because of all of the loss that they suffered from iOS 14 update. Also, Facebook lost so much data that the performance on Facebook in last year dropped significantly, and now we cannot have the same results as we had before, mainly because we do not have accurate reports anymore without the data from iOS 14 devices, and that leads us to making decisions about Facebook advertising, about each creative, about each ad set, about each campaign as a mere flip of the coin. So we assume rather than take the accurate data and make decisions according to this data. Another big change is Google introducing Google Privacy Sandbox. Even if it's still a work in progress, they're still developing all of the solutions, but it's also an initiative which will be focusing all around the Google ecosystem, trying to make it privacy friendly, reducing the usage of third-party cookies, and making the privacy first solutions. We also have a video about what is Google Privacy Sandbox, and we also have a new video which came out lately with 5 changes of 2022 in Google Privacy Sandbox. So be sure to check out those things if you're advertising a lot in Google. But actually, it's not only about Google advertisements, it's really about everyone, because we all use Google products. So we just went over 3 big changes, but it covers pretty much biggest channels that every single marketer uses. It changes the way we do our marketing job on day-to-day basis. It changes our strategies. It changes how we optimize. It changes how we make decisions. So what's the conclusion here? Should we just all quit our jobs and go do something else? No, of course not. Market is always evolving. This is how business is made. Everyone is looking for solutions. Every person in Google, every person in Facebook, every single marketer is trying to find a way to bring better advertisement, even at the times of privacy regulated future, which is not a bad thing again, because security and safety on the web is very, very important, no matter if you're a marketer or you're just a user. But what you have to do is you have to act on it. You have to act on those changes, and you have to make sure that you are compliant with everything that's going on. Be sure to use first-party data, which is a safe, kind of data, which is also healthy for your algorithms, for your optimization, and be sure to comply with all of those acts and what they prescribe to your marketing, to not use personal data without the consent of the user. In order to do that, in order to get access to first-party data and to change your advertising and marketing with it, to, let's say, transform your marketing with it, you need to have certain tools, because it's really hard to do it on your own right now. You need to hire very expert developers, which is probably the more complicated way. And there is also another way. You go to solutions that comply with all of those changes, comply with all the regulations, and they get access to first-party data for you. They collect this data for you. So let's go over a few prerequisites for your tracking analytics tool that you should see in order to understand that it's a privacy-friendly alternative that will help you improve your performance in marketing. So first thing, of course, it has to be first-party data, and it has to collect all the data through first-party cookies. That's the most important. You have to make sure that your tool is using only first-party data and only first-party cookies. No third-party cookies can be allowed in 2022 or further down the road. I don't really know when this video will be viewed by you. When I say first-party data, it means that all of the data is actually stored on your website and is accessed by secure tracking technologies via API integrations directly from your website. And the data is not shared and is not stored openly, so it has to be coded or hashed in some way. Number two, your solution does not store openly PII, personally identifiable information, and probably uses hashing technology. To hash personal data basically means to code it in some way, to hide the symbols through coding mechanism, and to make it non-human readable. In this way, the personal data will not be leaked. It's not open for humans to access, even if you're using tracking technologies. So, privacy compliant solutions do not openly store the PII data. For example, in case of RedTrack, it's where I'm from, we hash the data on the fly when we collect the data from the channel. So by the time the data reaches our platform, we cannot basically read it because it's already hashed and it's already coded in a privacy-friendly manner. What kind of data can be hashed? It's email, phone number, basically anything that can be personal. And we do this hashing on the fly at RedTrack. The third thing that you should probably ask your solution is if you're in control over the data that this solution is collecting for you. For example, the case of this exchange between systems can be API integrations. For example, your tracking tool has API integration with Facebook or with Google, and you can initiate this exchange between systems, or you can stop it at any time. So you are in control of every single exchange between systems. Another great feature that you can find in privacy-friendly tools is data logs or access to data logs. Basically, for example, in RedTrack, you have access to every single conversion, every single click, or data about all of those events in data logs tab in the platform. And that's a way to be sure that you are the owner of this data. And also it's a great way to test everything that you do, to test your funnels, test your setups. Basically, you will be able to find problems and solutions to those problems very quickly. You have access to data logs. And the final point is, of course, the deletion of the data. Be sure to check that you can actually delete this data. You can delete it at any time, and you're the owner of the data that tracking solution is collecting for you. So I think I pretty much covered why it's so important to invest in privacy-friendly alternatives when you're doing your marketing analytics, and I explained to you what you should be looking for in your privacy-friendly alternatives. But I have to mention RedTrack one more time, because we basically are one of the pioneers of this movement toward privacy-friendly marketing. We caught this trend of privacy regulations back in 2017, and we started developing our platform back then to be sure that we're future-proof and that we can deliver the results to marketers in a privacy-friendly way, being compliant with all the privacy regulations and making sure the users are safe. So now with RedTrack, you can track any marketing channel that you have in your stack without breaching the privacy regulations. You can track your TikTok ads, Facebook ads, Google ads. You can track email campaigns or even organic campaigns. You can also track influencers in a privacy-friendly way. Our technologies are based on first-party data. We collect all of the data independently via our solution, not just scraping the data off the marketing channels like some tools do. And we give you access to the marketing data At one glance, in a single platform, you sort of get a single source of truth in one place with one dashboard, and you can really see and compare the results between the channels that you choose to invest in your marketing strategy. That gives you access to the data that you can use for decisions, which is one of the most important things in marketing, because sometimes we just flip a coin. We assume that this works better, this works worse, but it's very important in 2022 to invest in a privacy-friendly way to use the data for decisions. So RedTrack becomes your friend, your partner in marketing that is unbiased, that is not using the data from other sources, that is collecting all of the data independently, only through first-party cookies, and makes sure your marketing is compliant and future-proof. So if you've never tried RedTrack, I will leave a link in the description. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, leave comments, and let me know what you would like to hear in this video series.